If it is a listed company, then it means then more rules and regulations will be applied on our company as well. So we have to be more careful. Then secondly, the word is parent company. It means this question most probably would be about the consolidation side. Why? Without looking at the requirement, you can think like this question could be about the consolidation section. Why? Because he is talking about the parent company. So we have a relationship of parent, subsidiary, investment, associate in our consolidation section. So it means examiner might have a question on the consolidation side here as well. Then you mentioned during the year ended 30 September 2002. So whenever you read something, you should highlight or you can make a stress like for during the year ended 30 September 2002. Okay. So it means 30th September 2002 is going to be your year end. So whenever you will read in this way, or you can highlight some important figures, points, calculations, year-end dates. So this is going to help you a lot in solving your question. Then in the very next line, Razak PLC increased its shareholding in its only equity investment Australian Limited. So it means you have increased your shareholding. First of all, you had equity investment. Okay, equity investment, like it could be 15%, it could be 20%, and you have increased. They have not mentioned, like for example, if you have increased, like how much percentage you have increased, this will be mentioned in our question as well, basically. So it is quite possible. It could be from 20% to 40%, or it could be from 20% to 60%, or it could be from 20% to 100% as well. So depending upon the question what we have basically. Then in question, another important area is basically like to whom you are reporting. What is your level? What is your designation? And to whom you have to report basically. Like for example, Razak publishes magazines in UK, that's fine. You are K noted, a chartered accountant and a member of Razak Financial Reporting. So if you are a chartered accountant or if you are a trainee in final year of your ICAEW, then it means examiner expects a chartered accountant level advice, something from your side. And you're reporting, very, very important role. You report to Razak Group Finance Sector NGO, who is also a chartered accountant as well. So finance sector. So definitely the finance guy, finance person, he or she will be aware of the rules and regulations. So you have to be very much careful what you are talking about basically. If there will be a CEO of the person or chairman, that person might not be having the some good financial background. And so your advice, your situation could be different as well. So whenever my main purpose is just because whenever you read, particularly in class or in some sort of discussion, just try to highlight some areas, something because it is very, very important how you go through and how you solve the question. Now, yes, you can proceed, guys. Thank you. Sir, you can start reading.
Okay. I have recently joined the board and I am preparing for our annual update presentation to everybody. As part of this update, I have been asked to present the bank with draft consolidated financial statements for the year ended 20 September 2000. I appreciate that there will be tax issues to the finalize at a later stage, but the bank has said that it is not interested in these at present. For a number of years, the
Wait,
ZAC PLC held.
wait. So you have read these three lines. So what do you think? What examiner is just trying to say, or what message you get from this small paragraph? If you want to reread, you can revisit and reread again. Basically, what do you think about from these 3 to 4 lines? I have recently joined till in these at present till the end of first paragraph. What message What point do you think examiner is just trying to convey? What is your mindset about these paragraphs? No issues.
और इसमें
It is
एक
this is please. If you want to talk in English
इसमें
or any language, you can communicate. No issues.
इसमें एक तो ये चीज बताई गई है कि कंसोलिडेटेड ड्राफ्ट फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट है,
ठीक है.
जो मेन जो मेन मैसेज उसका है। और ये उसने ये भी ऊपर वाली लाइन में उसका कहा कि अपडेटेड प्रेजेंटेशन टू आवर बैंक। और ये चीज भी है। और दूसरा फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स फॉर 30 सितंबर। और उसमें टैक्स टैक्स इशू भी उसने बताया कि टैक्स इश्यूज to the finalized in the later stage, but the bank is said that the interested in these plans। यानी कि दो ही
Sir,
चीजें इस पे
apart
आ रही हैं।
Jawad, wait. Please wait.
so-
Yes, I carry on.
जी, इसमें दो ही चीजें आ रही हैं। एक तो वो बैंक से रिलेटेड कर रहा है और दूसरा कंसोलिडेटेड ड्राफ्ट फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट में क्या है। और इसमें जो ऊपर वाली लाइन में स्टार्ट में कहा कि आई हैव रिसेंटली ज्वाइंड द बोर्ड, यानी कि उसने अभी स्टार्ट ही किया है। उसको बैक तो उसका नॉलेज नहीं है शायद उसके पास। यही तो कहना चाह रहा है।
Okay, carry on. Good. That's a good point. Yes, Jawad.
Yes, sir, Zahid has correctly explained. A part of that one more point to be added, because these financial statements to be presented to the bank, it means we have some certain covenants to be what to call to be benchmarked. We have to follow certain points because we have to maintain some certain ratios to be presented to the bank.
Yes, very well explained by Zaid and Jawad. So, what do you think? Yes, another important point is basically like the Jawad mentioned. Obviously, whenever the line is basically, I have been asked to present the bank with draft consolidated financial statements for year ended 30 September 2022. So, I have to present my consolidated financials to the bank. Okay, fine. So obviously you will present the financial statements to bank just because of some sort of financing, some sort of loan, something like that. Definitely. So that's why. So for as far as banking is concerned, you have to present your financials to someone, to a third party. So what do you think? You will present a weak financial position or a strong financial position?
Strong financial position, current ratios, and everything.
Whatever the ratio is, for example,
Uh,
it could be interest cover, it
mhm.
could be gearing, it could be your return on asset. There could be many other ratios as well. PE ratio, EPS, and so on, basically. So whenever we have something like you have to discuss with the bank, you have to present your financial information, your account, financial statements, then it means there is going to be something. So what is the main story? What is the main method? Let's say if I assume this is a question of audit and not a question of reporting, then it means it is quite possible there might be some manipulations in your financial statements as well. Basically, management has an incentive to manipulate their financial statements because if your performance is not good, if your position is not good, if you are unable to maintain your good ratio, then the bank may decide not to provide you the loan, or they may recall the previous one. It is quite possible. So just think about this perspective. So whenever you will think about this perspective, it means you are talking about reporting side, you are also considering the auditing section as well. So whenever you will read and when you try to understand what is the main message, what is the main story, then definitely things will be very much easier for you as well. If I again start, I have recently joined the board. Yes, I very well already mentioned by the side as well. Recently joined the board, so you might not have a sufficient good knowledge about the company. So someone, my question is that, okay, my question is open to both of you. You are saying I have recently joined and both of you have agreed. You may have a limited information, but you are talking about you are a chartered accountant. And then do you think does it make a difference if you recently joined an organization?
Yes, sir. Definitely, because in order to understand the business cycle, especially the equity structure, how many loans are there, what is the cash flow of the company, how to improve it. It takes time.
Yes,
And
not all. Yes, please,
सर
please.
सर
like
इसमें
even
इन
if you this is what the probation period is for. Even if you are joining at a director level or a like he in here he is directly joined the board finance sector. Even he has a like it's assumed that he has also a probation period, and in that one he has to bring the improvements and he has to bring the values to the company as well.
Yes. Definitely, it doesn't matter how much experience, how many things you have. Uh, you are a chartered accountant or whatever qualification or skill you have. Definitely, it takes time. It takes time to understand the business, their system, policies, procedure, mechanism, each and everything. It takes time. That is good.
Uh,
Okay.
इन
uh, uh, uh,
inaccuracy
uh,
and time दो पॉइंट है सर
Sorry, come again.
सर इसमें जो उसने कहा ना कि आई हैव रिसेंटली ज्वाइन सर इसमें वो यही उसने बताने का मतलब ये है कि मैंने रिसेंटली ज्वाइन किया है तो ये रिपोर्ट जो है डिले हो सकती है टाइम की बात कर रहे हैं इसमें सेंस
Uh,
जो जाती है ना टाइम की और इनएक्यूरेसी
uh,
वरना तो उसको बताने की जरूरत नहीं है कि आई हैव रिसेंटली ज्वाइन
right.
sir, यहाँ पे one point it can be more Zahid as well. Like in here, it means he has no time to go in the depth. There are issues in the text as well. Okay,
बिल्कुल
and
बिल्कुल
he's
बिल्कुल
yes, a report can be delayed as well. But at the moment, he don't have time to go in the depth. Where are the issues? And he want to present it in a good way to the bank so that he have a strong position and he can get loan or whatsoever whatever his purpose is.
Yes, to some extent, you are fine as well. Both of you are fine. But another point is basically like recently joined the board, it means you need some time in understanding. Like it is quite possible, but whenever you talk about like things could be delayed, no, it should not happen. Things should not be delayed. For example, you have a time period to file your financial statement, to present your financial statement to the board for approval, or you have to present your accounts in your board meeting or something like that. So just try to make sure each and everything is on time. Uh, Another important thing that just came into my mind, like for example, if this is a point and let's say you are writing a question of audits and never ever mention something negative. Like for example, you just propose this thing, you have recently joined, so you think a financial statement should be late. No, is not acceptable. Yes, you can think about, you can say the understanding, planning, each and everything, knowing your client KYC through KOB, know your client through knowledge of business, it will take time. You can mention this point, but when, let's say if you think I have just recently joined an organization, so my work could be delayed. No, this should not happen. So do not mention this point.
Also, sir, this is a sorry to interrupt you, sir. Also, this is a listed company. If you are going to in delay, there will be penalties as well.
Yes. Let's say, for example, if there are 90 days, within 90 days, your agent should have. So what we have to do? Definitely, our audited financial statement should be audited. It should be finalized. It takes time. It takes time. Adjustment, draft, and finalization. It takes time. After that, you have to go with the AGM, proposals, and financial statement, shareholders, each and everything. Again, it takes huge amount of time. Huge amount of time. Even after the year end, it takes some time close your period, proposing some adjustments, entries. So lot of work you have to do this. So my main point and crux of the story is that never ever mention something, whatever just we discussed. Another thing is basically no one highlighted, but I mentioned draft fantasy. It means it is going to be a draft. There are two things. First of all, draft. Second is audit. What is the difference between draft and audited? Right.
Sir, before oh, sorry.
ये सब क्या पूछा
लाइक ड्राफ्ट में और फॉर एग्जांपल अब यहाँ पे बात हुई है कि ड्राफ्ट फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स हैं हमारे पास एक फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स होती हैं जो ऑडिटेड फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स है दोनों में क्या कोई फर्क है तो क्या फर्क है
जी सर है डिफरेंस वो ऑडिट एक फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स है और ये ड्राफ्ट अभी मतलब कंप्लीट नहीं है ये उस सेंस में
नहीं ठीक है वो ऑडिटेड है या ड्राफ्ट है तो मतलब फर्क बेसिकली ड्राफ्ट फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स क्या होती है क्या फर्क है
ड्राफ्ट तो देन में नहीं
नो इश्यूज जायद जवाब
Yes, so the draft after once we finish the audit, first of all we issue the draft. Okay, the draft can be changed one or two, three times. Okay, depending upon the situation. But once the audited financial statements are issued, they cannot be changed even by the auditor itself.
In simple terms,
So
that's
draft are
fine.
basically a draft, or you can say that a specimen, or the first copy of the audited financial statements.
Okay.
No,
In
not the
simple,
sorry first copy. You can the first issuance of the audit financial statements.
not even the audit, even simply you can say, like in simple term, draft, it means it is not finalized. It will be finalized at later stage. Adjustment might be in different state. I think.
Right.
Yes, adjustments could be in the, yes, adjustment would be in financial statement because it is a draft. Audited mean financial statements have been fine, analyzed, audited. Your when it is audited, it means the stamp of auditor is there. Figures have been locked. You cannot change until or unless there is some sort of exception as well. Figures have been locked. But when you talk about the draft, it means it is just a proposal. So you will expect a lot of adjustment in these financial statements basically. So this is basically a draft. So yes, you will see a lot of things in many points. You will see this word draft. What does that mean? Basically? So that's why I want this type of interaction. That is something very encouraging. It doesn't matter either who is right, wrong. It's not about. I think I should not say the wrong. It's just about the participation. Whatever we have is. Yes, you can start reading from this point for a number of. Yes, I please start for a number of years.
For a number of years, Razak PLC held 15% of the ordinary shares capital of SPN, a paper pulp manufacturer. On 31st March 2002, this shareholding was increased to 80% as we wanted to secure continuity of supply in relation to the paper pulp. Further details of the transactions can be found exhibit.
Okay. Uh, can you please explain this paragraph?
सर इसमें उसने बताया कि उसके पास जो है फ्रॉम द नंबर ऑफ इयर्स रजाक पीएलसी हैड 15% ऑफ ordinary shares कैपिटल ऑफ एसपीएन। तो उसकी जो ये जो रजाक एक पेरेंट कंपनी है इसके पास 15% जो ऑर्डिनरी शेयर है उसके और ये पेपर मैन्युफैक्चर है पल्प वगैरह में। और उसके बाद उसने कहा कि शेयर होल्डिंग वाज इंक्रीज 80% एज टू वांटेड टू सिक्योर कंटिन्यूटी सप्लाई ऑफ रिलेशन टू पेपर। अब उसकी शेयर होल्डिंग जो है वो 80% तक जो है वो चली गई। फर्दर उसकी डिटेल्स उसने कहा कि नीचे तो दो पॉइंट इसमें उसने बताए। एक तो ये है कि वो 15% उसके पास शेयर कैपिटल है और अब जो है शेयर होल्डिंग जो है उसकी 80% तक।
Okay. Yes, Jawad. Anything from your side?
Yes, sir. A part of this one, he is totally right. Like the subsidiary now, because it has become subsidiary. Okay, before it was investment, now it has become subsidiary, and they want to control the supply. So that's why they have invested more in that one, so they can easily get all the supply of the paper pulp from that company.
Okay. Another thing that I want to add up in both of you solutions, basically, for example, initially you held 15%. You held 15% of ordinary share capital of Osmo. So if you have 15% of shares of a company, then what it is?
So it is simple investment.
Yes. On 31st March 2002, first of all, I will highlight the date. Then this shareholding was increased to 80%. What is 80%? It's subsidiary, as you mentioned earlier.
Yes, sir. 80% of the share capital of Azulin.
Yes. So your shareholding has changed from 15% to 80%. It means my shareholding, my status of the company has changed from investment to subsidiary as well. In investments, we apply the equity accounting and so on. So that is very well said by the examiner in earlier lines. Then, and it is 80%, it means it is a subsidiary. We have control because we have more than 51% share. So all of the processes will be there. You need to calculate the goodwill, each and everything. All of the processes of subsidiary would be repeated here as well. So when you will think from this perspective, then definitely it will help you a lot in your discussion. So you are learning about the discussion, how to discuss a point basically. Otherwise, in simple term, we can say 15% to 80%. And next, very next, you will be having a requirement like provide explanation of how the increase in stake in Austin will be treated in Razak consolidated financial statement. So when you are reading in this way and when you are explaining more importantly, then you are answering this requirement. More importantly, you are also preparing yourself for these type of questions for the real exam, which is a question from the real exam past paper as well. So just try to think this perspective. It is quite possible. In another question, it could be from 15% to 40%, or it could be from 40% to 80% as well. Anything is possible. So just try to think about, as I mentioned, if you have some sort of percentage, some sort of figure, some sort of date, then please try to highlight. Just try to think what does that mean. Another important thing that none of you have mentioned, like it is a subsidy, that is fine. So when it is a subsidy, on 31st March 20x2, its status has changed from investment to subsidy. That is 31st March 20x2. What is your year end? 30th September 20x2. So just before 6 months, just 6 month duration we have. So it is not going to be a full year. It is just 6 month adjustment. Let's say if you have some sort of profits or any other adjustment or depreciation or something like that, then you have to think about you have to prorate for 6 months. 6 months. Please remember, you have to prorate for 6 months. If you will go for a full year, then your marks will be deducted. It means examiner has played that trick and we have missed it. That's why when I try to read bit slow, in a bit slower manner, because it will make me realize how I have to think. For example, when I will be solving a next question, then these things will be very much comfortable in my mind. For example, if I solve a question, so first of all, I think I should look at the year end. What is my year end? So first of all, I need to set my timeline. What is my year end? Let's say if year end is 30th June, 30th September, 31st October, 31st December. So according to your year end, you will set your direction. Like for example, I already had the idea. In this question, my year end is 30th September. Mid-year, it's a case of mid-year acquisition, that is 31st March 20x2. So you will prorate for 6 months if there is any adjustment for 6 month time period here as well. So please try to read in this way. You will be very much comfortable in your exam, not for this question, but another question where that you face in your real exam as well, basically. Okay. Now, any one of you can read from here as well. The one you can read, Razak PLC from here.
Uh, Razak PLC draft financial statements at 30th November 2000X2 are summarized in Exhibit 2. In addition, I have some concerns about Razak PLC purchase of a bond in Imposter PLC Exhibit 3, and then the directors are proposing to introduce a pension plan for the next year that is mentioned Exhibit 4 and are perhaps unclear on how to account for it. So it means we have an adjustment for that, the Exhibit 4. Also a part of that one. Please, would you
Wait,
provide explanation of how?
what does that mean? It means we have a beauty of the question. Like further details of transaction can be found in Exhibit 1. So detail, Exhibit 1, acquisition, shareholding, you see. Then we have in Exhibit 2, draft financial statements. Okay. We have Exhibit 2, draft financial statement. We have Exhibit 3, we have imposter bond. Exhibit 4, we have pension plan, proposed pension plan. So it means, for example, if I have to solve the consolidation section, so I should not be worried about section 3 or section 4, because it is something from a different standard here. So if let's say if one information of consolidation is in section 1, one is in section 2, another information is section 3, and the next information is in section 4. It means I cannot solve my question until or unless I completely read my question. No, most of the time examiner sets a question in a very beautiful manner. Like examiner will tell you each and everything in which exhibit you data you have, what data you have basically. So this way, so you can think about one a particular requirement and then you can solve, and then you can move on this. So this also help you out. This basically this gives you a lot of confidence. For example, if I need information about pension, so I should not be reading about the section 3, exhibit 3. I will be focusing on exhibit 4. For imposter bond, I will be focusing on exhibit 3, and then so on. So also read in this manner here as well. Yes, please would you read out the requirements.
Please would you provide explanation of how the increase in the stake in Julian will be treated in Razak considered financial statements? This is the first thing, and then explain any adjustment needed to account for the purchase of imposter bond in the Razak's considered financial statements, and evaluate any ethical issues arising from this matter. Then prepare Razak's considered financial statements of financial position as at 30th September 20x2 after making all relevant adjustments, and explain how the proposed pension plan would be accounted for in the financial statements.
Okay. Explain the requirements. What requirement do we have?
So first of all, we have to explain the increase in the stake. Okay. The second is the adjustments. The third is the preparation of the consideration and consideration financial position. And the fourth one is to explain the proposed pension plan and its treatment in the financial statements.
Okay. Yes, first of all, provide explanations of how the increase in stake in Austin will be treated in Razak consolidated financial statement. Increase in stake 15% to 80% that we were just talking about. So we were not just reading the data, we were actually solving a requirement here as well. Explain any adjustment that is, yes, definitely for imposter bond. That question is basically about the financial instrument. We will discuss later on. And then evaluate any ethical
Imposter,
issues. Yes,
imposter bond,
whenever, sorry, come again, Zahid.
imposter bond, ये क्या है?
In imposter bond, basically that is a type of bond we will discuss in financial instruments में हम इसकी बात करें. Imposter bond क्या है, उसकी कानूनी ट्रीटमेंट कैसे होगी, impairment valuation वगैरह कैसे होगी, वो हम financial instruments में discuss करें. And evaluate any ethical issues arising from this matter. Yes, what are the ethical issues? Ethical issue है, थोड़ा सा उसको explain भी करना है, उसकी implication बतानी है, कौन सा ethical principle breach हुआ है. Ethical issue है तो कोई ना कोई safeguard भी होना चाहिए, कोई recommendation, something like that. And then we have to prepare a ZAC consolidated statement of financial position at 30th December 2022 after making all relevant adjustments. And then हमें अपनी SOFP जो होगी कंसोलिडेटेड उसको अपने लिए क्या करना है, उसको हमें यहाँ पे अपने लिए उसको प्रिपेयर करना है. जो ये फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स होंगी इसको हम यहाँ पे क्या करेंगे, हम यहाँ पे अपने लिए प्रिपेयर कर रहेंगे. मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम, most of the time you will see a requirement like you have to prepare your financial statement, or you have to draft your financial statement, or you have to make adjustments. Most of the time you will see you have to make adjustments in your draft financial statement. So you have to adjust, like for example, in case of consolidation we have intercompany loan, we have unrealized profit, something like that. So you have to be ready how we have to prepare our consolidated financial statements, or how we have to adjust our financial statements where we have basically. Approximately you expect 6 to 7 marks for this 5, 6 marks, 7 marks for these type of assessment depending upon the question basically. And then we have to
Sir,
play. Yes.
sir, in this one they are asking to, like the director was asking to, he has to present the draft consolidated financial statements. Okay, it means it's a complete set. However, in the question they're asking, please would you prepare for Razak financial statement of financial position. It means but we have to go only for the financial position, but or we have to go with the full set of financial statements.
Jawad, you were
I think
reading
we need to
too.
see the draft.
You were reading too fast. Please come little bit slower.
सर उसमें एक क्वेश्चन मुझे बता रहा है बेसिकली कि उसने पूरी फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स बना के देनी थी, ठीक है। नीचे रिक्वायरमेंट वो ये कह रहा है कि आप सिर्फ
Okay, I
फाइनेंशियल
got
पोजीशन
your
यानी कि
point.
बैलेंस शीट
Ba-
के बारे में बताएं।
Basically, you were saying that
I,
draft
I think we
console.
need to go with the data first of all, what they have
Exactly.
given us.
We have the data for statement of financial position. So we will just go for that.
Okay.
That was just basically you have to present draft consolidated financial statements for the this year and basically. But later on, we just have the data of statement of financial. Let's say as already we have a 30 marks question. So if you also need to prepare just the statement
Um,
of profit and loss and other comprehensive income, and let's forget about the cash flow statement, then it could be a 50 marks question, 40 or 50 marks question. So that could be a huge complex. First of all, prepare the income statement, then transfer the balances into SOFP. So that could have been a very complex question. It is possible, but rarely possible because at this level
uh,
examiner do not sorry, examiner do not test like how you prepare the income statement. Examiner is more interested how you adjust because financial statements have already been prepared, they have been given to you. Now it is your duty to adjust your financial statements. Now come to your question. Yes, what?
right, sir. Yes, sir.
Tell it.
So we need to see the data. We need to go with the requirement only, right?
Yes. Let's say if examiner says prepare a consolidated financial statement. So definitely will depend upon the data, what type of data you have this. Even let's say if you do not have a figures of sales, then how you can prepare your profit and loss statement? You cannot prepare your profit and loss statement until and unless you have the data for sales here as well. So that depends. It was just basically the statement from the examiner. You have to go with the consolidated financial statement. That's why just some sort of formality or some sort of data that we have and then explain how the proposed pension plan would be accounted for in the financial statement. You have to explain. In the coming session, I will also share some list of words basically. For example, if you think what is identify, what is explain, highlight, assess, critically analyze, criticize, evaluate, so these words also have very important. Like for example, if the examiner says identify or briefly explain the proposed pension plan, no, you have to explain how you are going to treat your pension plan in your financial statement. You can revisit these requirements again. If there is any question, we can discuss. Otherwise, we will move forward. In start, it will take time. But whenever this will be your practice, so you can easily read out these things, you can highlight these things and so on. All clear?
Yes.
Zahid.
Yes, sir.
Right, you can start reading from the exhibit one. And whenever you think you have read out 2 or 3 lines, then you can also little bit explain whatever information you have.
In 20W, hello, you can hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay. Shareholding in Azulin. Okay, this was the first requirement. In 20W4, 8 years ago, Razak PLC brought 75,000 shares in Azulin for $6 each, which is
Pound
almost the
six.
15% as pound six, sorry, pound six each, uh, which is the 15% of the total shareholding. And irrevocable election was made on purchase to classify this investment
Jawad, you mentioned that is
as
15. 15%. Have you calculated that is a 15% or not?
Sir, it's mentioned in the question before.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so we have to calculate how much shares and now, and we have to go with the pro rata that how many shares now we have acquired. Like 75,000 is the 15% of how much amount, and then how out of then we need to multiply by the 80%. It means we got that much shares.
Okay, move on.
An irrevocable election was made on purchase to classify this investment as being at fair value through other comprehensive income. So this is a election by whom? Shareholding resolution. Okay. At 30th September 20x1, the shares had a fair value of pound 16 each, and a cumulative increase in value of pound 750,000 had been recognized in other comprehensive income and was held in equity. Okay. In Razak PLC draft financial statements of financial position, the increase in the share valuation has been included in the investment in Azulin. It means the 750,000 has been already, it's inclusive of the values which are given in the exhibit.
Okay, that
On
is fine.
31st, on 31st March 20x2, a further 3,2,500 shares in Azulin were purchased for the pound 25 each. This sum has been added to the investment Azulin. It means this is also included. In addition to the cash consideration of pound 25 per share, Razak PLC has agreed to pay a further pound 6 per share on 31st March 20x4, subject to a condition that Azulin's management team, each of whom owned shares in Azulin, remain with the company to that date. It is considered to be highly probable that this condition will be met. No adjustments for a contingent payment have been included in Razak's financial statements. Razak has a cost of capital of 9%. On 31st March 2002, the fair value of an Azulian share was estimated to be pound 20. Razak has decided to use the fair value full goodwill method to measure non-controlling interest. The statement of financial position of Azulian at 30 September 2002 and 31st March 2002 were as follows.
Okay,
So you can.
can any one of you explain the last two paragraph? What does that mean?
Sir, what was the cut date? It was 30 September 20x3 or 20x2 on the top in the
Year
question.
end is 30th December 2002.
20x2.
You do not need to solve or calculate any figure. Just explain what you think about from this data.
Sir, that shareholding has increased. A part of that one, we need to see that whether it's a fair, what you call, it's a fair value transaction or no.
How you can say?
Sir, an irrevocable election was made on purchase to classify this investment as a as being at fair value.
First paragraph is very straightforward. That is fine. If we start from third line, in addition to cash consideration of 25 pound per share, the ZAC PLC agreed to pay a further 6 pound per share on 31st March 20x4, subject to a condition that Austrian management team, each of whom own shares in Austrian, remain with the company to that day. So we have different types of constitution. We have cash consideration, we have shares consideration, we have contingent consideration, we have deferred consideration. So we have four types of consideration. There could be the type, but more importantly, there are four types of consideration we have. So cash consideration is 25 pound per share. In addition to cash
Okay.
consideration, they also agreed to pay a further 6 pound if you stay with the company. So that is going to be a contingent consideration. Some of you, like some students might say that is going to be a deferred consideration, and deferred consideration, contingent consideration are the same thing, same accounting treatment. We have a same accounting treatment for deferred and contingent consideration, but logically we have a difference. Yes, can anyone explain what is the difference between deferred consideration and contingent consideration?
Yes, sir. It means on contingent means to it is contingent on some condition that we have to meet certain conditions, while deferred means on a later date.
Yes, excellent. Deferred mean later on you have to pay. It is your obligation. You have admitted. Contingent mean conditional. If the condition will be met, then you have to pay. Otherwise, you do not need to pay. Then there is another question like students. There is a one. I will just check with this. Two things. I was talking about the contingent consideration. Like it is quite possible. Students might say like a contingent consideration is conditional. It will depend upon condition. So you do not know either you have to pay or not. But they have mentioned it is considered to be highly probable that this condition will be met. So according to this, you have to treat and you have to record your contingent consideration when you have to calculate your goodwill here as well, basically. First thing. Second thing, it is quite possible student may make a mistake. Why? Because students will be thinking year end is 30th December 20x2 and contingent consideration is payable on 31st March 20x4. So there are two, three mistakes that students normally make. First of all, they will record the contingent consideration, but they will not record this contingent consideration at the fair present value. They will not record this contingent consideration fair value. What they will do, they will take these 325,000 shares and then they will multiply with contingent consideration amount that is £6 per share and then they will record their amount basically. That is going to be a mistake. Why? Because we have 2 years time period, so we have to discount for 2 years. Just think why examiner has given you the cost of capital of 9%. What is the relevance of this figure? This is the relevance. This is the relevance. So you have to calculate the present value of your contingent consideration because it will be paid after 2 years. That was another mistake that students may mistake in their exam. Another mistake that could be, for example, your year end is 30 December 20x2 and contingent consideration is payable on 31st March 20x4. So students might think it is a 1.5 year and not 2 years. No, it is 2 years. Why? You acquired your shares on 31st March 2002 and not on 30th December. 30th December is your year end, not the acquisition date. So please pay another careful attention to this date. So in this way, whenever you will learn, you will think about what are the possible areas of mistake. And if you remove the possible mistakes, possible issues from your write-up, then what does that mean? It means you are going toward a good side. It means it is quite possible you will not repeat these mistakes. If you will not repeat this mistake, it means your solution will be good and you are moving towards a past situation. So it is always very, very important thing to listen the discussion, to think, to talk about, to participate. Otherwise, we have a solution and solution is given at the question bank, at the end of the question bank. Yes. You can see what is the solution we have. Discussion is more important. For example, we have learned so many points, consideration, types of consideration, what is the significance of this discount rate, what we have contingent consideration, deferred consideration, we have to calculate the present value, why we need to calculate the present value, and many other points, many other points. So discussion is very important. So in the very next question, you will see some areas, some concerns will be repeated. So if you remember, if you can recall something that will be a very, very important. So this is what we have. Actually, what I wanted that was basically just to make sure you people participate in the discussion session for today, in discussion session for today. So for next class that is going to be tomorrow, you we have a small assignment. At least you people have to answer this requirement. Provide explanations of how the increase in stake in Austin will be treated in the Razak consolidated financial statement. And if possible, you can also go with this question, this requirement. Like you can completely solve the question without imposter bond and pension area. Otherwise, at least you should write how you have to explain this stake in Oslin, how you are going to treat this question basically, how you have to treat this question basically. And another small area, ethical issues. You must talk about the ethical issues. Do not worry about the accounting or reporting treatment of imposter bond. Just think about ethical issues, how you have to answer an ethical situation, ethical concern here. That is your assignment. All of you have to write these things, at least things that have been mentioned in green are compulsory. Requirement 1 and requirement 2 about ethics. Requirement 3, if you think you can solve, then you should go for that. Otherwise, these two requirements, you must write these requirements for our next section that is going to be tomorrow here as well. That is what we have. If you people have any question, any point, then you can mention and we can discuss. जी कोई सवाल हो किसी का, कोई पॉइंट, कोई क्यूरी,
No, sir.
कुछ आइडिया हुआ?
Sir, in the console, yes,
Yes, please, please.
Yes, sir.
I'm saying कुछ आइडिया
sir,
हुआ
let
आपको?
Zahid ask. I think he was going to say something.
Yes, I please, you are saying something.
जी जी आइडिया होता है
Okay.
जवाब
Yes,
सब कुछ
Jawab.
दे दो
Sir, how to go with the question in the consolidation? Like first of all, to calculate the NCI or to calculate the goodwill. I think last time you gave us step by step. I need to go through the notes to I need to recall all those things. So I so that just to what you called to save our time to go step by step. I think this is the easiest way to solve the consolidation question.
Whenever you have a consolidation question, first of all, read that question. So after reading the
Yeah.
question, you will be having an idea like this is the question of step acquisition and not a case of disposal here as well. So
Right.
obviously 15% to 80% things have changed now. It's a subsidiary. You need to calculate goodwill and many other things here as well, basically. So how you can calculate the goodwill? Obviously, you need consideration, one or two type of consideration, whatever you have. So go for the consideration side, and then put another figure like NCI, what you have basically. This will not be problematic. Important concern is calculation of consideration, and then another concern is basically calculation of net assets. How you calculate your net assets at your acquisition date, your disposal or year-end date, whatever you have. Calculate the net assets, and then we already know difference between consideration and net asset, that is called goodwill or bargain purchase. So in this way, when you have calculated the goodwill, it means most of the question you have already solved. And then you can little bit start with the retained earning. You can put some figures of retained earning. And then if you think NCI is easy, you can talk about the NCI. And then lastly, you can finalize your consolidated retained earnings figure. And then once you are done with all of these areas, and then you can go with the other areas. So this was for this thing. Again, if you start before this step, then what you can do, you can prepare a basic form. For example, you can prepare this basic form. You can prepare this basic form here as well. When you can prepare a basic format, and then you can put up some figure. For example, I already know that this figure of, let's say, I first of all, I can write down these lines on my left hand side, current assets, non-current assets, current assets, equity, and so on. Then on my left right hand side, I can put up some figures. And then if there are any adjustments, then definitely I can put up the adjustments next column, and then I can adjust. And then in this way, I can solve this. First of all, prepare the basic format, put up some figures, and then try to solve the adjustments like consideration, goodwill, NCI, green ending, and then you can put up these figures into this format, this section here as well. In this way, in less amount of time, you can solve the question. Otherwise, what is the second way? Second way is basically, first of all, you will solve the adjustment and then you will prepare the consolidated financial statement. It is quite possible. Let's say if you are stuck, unfortunately, on an adjustment or two, you may think about again and again. You may waste a huge amount of time, and then you can miss out very much because preparation of this basic format. I already told you it will give you 6 to 7 marks, 6, 7, 8 marks. It is quite
Uh,
possible.
Sir, one shortcut was to copy paste this one, but because this is PDF and other when we are copying on the answer sheet as an Excel, so it's scramble. So one way is to just simply copy paste one by one line, and then keep the figures copy.
Do
That
what
is
you
also
think.
yeah, that is also a simple shortcut to save time. That you can copy and then you can paste it there.
You can do anything what you think what is convenient for you. In simple terms. You can do anything what is convenient for you. So whenever we will be having the exam session as well, exam software, you already know that we have two sections, spreadsheet area and word processing area. So you have to make sure anything that is in your spreadsheet area that should be transferred from spreadsheet to word processing area as well. Because examiner cannot see your Excel sheet. So if you want to copy or something like that, that is entirely dependent upon. You can do anything what you want to do this thing. But it should be in a presentable format and it should be in a professional manner. Yes, this is something very. Prepare this basic format, then put up the basic figures, and then you can start solving one by one goodwill, consideration, goodwill, and so on. This then NCI, consolidated limits, and so on. Prepare the consolidated and the last because it is again going to be something different or something complex and students are stuck. And do one more thing, please, please, please do not balance out. Like for example, for assets we have 19533, for equity and liabilities we have 1953. Do not balance. Do not make a total. Do not make a total. Why? Because most of the students think that there are differences. If there are differences, then they think, oh my God, what I have done. I have not balanced my asset is equal to liability plus equity. So I am going to fail the exam. No, never ever. Let's say if you miss out one adjustment that have dual effect on assets as well and effect on liability or equity as well, then it is quite possible. Your financials could be balanced, but you have missed out one adjustment. So never ever go for the totaling because if you will not total, you will be thinking you have done everything right. This will not give you something extra, and then you can move on because you might be confused what I have done basically. Where are the differences? These are the differences we have. It is not compulsory. So examiner will not detect anything or maximum half a mark and not more than that. So do not balance out and just move with a simple approach because if you will total and if there is a difference, then you will think you have to rectify this difference here as well. And it is quite possible you may spend a huge amount of time on rectifying your issue. You may rectify or you may not rectify. So do not go for this. Time is very, very important. Once solved, then move on to the next part and next area here as well. This is again also something that is very, very important. This is what we have for the corporate reporting for today.